What's up, y'all? So, y'all already know who it is, target individual CJBK. So, real quick, well, I'm gonna try to be quick with this one. All right. Um, I think it's about time that we start looking back at history, like truly looking at the history of civilizations of old, especially the ones that were not simply hunter-gatherer civilizations, but the ones that were considered advanced. We need to start looking back at those civilizations and why they don't necessarily exist now. Because I believe we're heading in the same direction. Archaeologists who are uncovering many different relics and structures and basically images and stones and everything that basically depicted not depicted, but were basically artifacts and historic records of what those civilizations were like back then, and then also the messages that they tried to relay to us here in the future. Because remember, there's been several different things that have happened to the earth while mankind was still, living on this planet. But always keep in mind, even through all those catastrophic events, there were very few, just a small few, of people who actually survived those events. And along with many of those people who survived were those who probably, the only way you could really look at it from the spiritual aspect, because when you think about like great floods and meteors that crashed on Earth, basically destroying and wiping out the dinosaurs and things of that sort, but yet somehow mankind still survived. You would think it's probably something that's based on, maybe it was a right place and right time, this Homo sapien or whatever you want to call them, Neanderthal or whatever, they basically just happened, to have, decided to go and live in a cave deep within a mountain or something, and then somehow was able to avoid being, destroyed by what was to come. Or you think about how, what else? Great floods that happened, for whatever reason. Maybe some of these people were, I guess, banished, or, maybe they lost some type of fight or disagreed with, the groups or the people that they lived among, and then for whatever reason they ended up leaving that society. They ended up leaving that civilization, and then next thing you know, they moved up somewhere higher or somewhere farther, and then next thing you know, when these catastrophic events happened, that society or that civilization they left was the one that got destroyed, while they still managed to actually have been at the most perfect place at the perfect time to avoid what's to happen. So I don't know, like me, I read, try to read the Bible, or if anything, I listen. I do audiobooks and stuff, because I don't know, I feel like I remember things more when I'm listening. It's either I remember more or I interpret it better when I'm listening to it. And so I'm taking note of the fact that there are many things, including if you look into, if you're into studying like space, things that go on in space, The Taurid meteor shower, right? Tourid, Tourid meteor stream rather. It's a particular, the best way I can explain it, it's a particular point or stream in space where there's constant flows of meteors that's just always like heavily, always going flowing, ridiculously. I don't know, but it's basically a particular space, part of space where there's a stream, and these meteors are constantly always flowing through it, but it has cycles when, like, or at least, throughout the history of mankind, we notice that it runs in cycles. Archaeologists have now been coming forward and stating that we are within that particular, we're heading closer into that particular cycle when they believe, and when past civilizations or past astronomers believe that they recorded in it, like almost like a specific or exact time of when the meteor showers occur. And here's the thing: every so often, Earth actually passes through that stream. Today, not today, but like in today's time period, archaeologists believe we're actually within that particular same, like, I guess, point or intercepting point of when Earth passes through that Taurid meteor shower, that Taurid meteor stream. And we don't realize that meteors and asteroids, meteors, whatever, objects come crashing down and falling on crashing into Earth on more occasions than we ever really notice. Most of the time that they go undetected, because like even though there are astronomers who are constantly, like it's their career to just spend hours looking through telescopes, observing everything in space. But and as I'm talking, they're like focusing a lot of energy on my heart. It's coming at an angle like this. Where is it? Yeah. So it's basically like something like coming across like this, almost as if like if you was sitting at a computer and you took like like one of those pens that people use to tap on their phone or whatnot. Sorry. And it's as if like if you were looking at a digital copy of my body and someone just took a pen and just started drawing a line, here, right over my chest. That's what it feels like. Like, how you doing? Hey, did my mother ever call you back? No, I called her. All right, I'll tell you. I'll tell her to call you. Okay. All right. All right. Yeah, that's one of our neighbors. One of my mother's associates. I don't know. My mother, she's funny with people. But anyway, so yeah. And everything under the sun happens in cycles. There's nothing ever really new that happens. Only thing that changes is just the outer layer or the skin or the presentation of what we're looking at. But all of the energy, the intentions, thought processing, nothing is ever really new. It's just an upgraded version of something of old. Hold on while I go inside. Right, so I didn't lose track of when I came in, I realized my mother wasn't home. And then I said, let me see if I could pull some of this energy or at least redirect to some degree how much energy is going into my heart. Because it's a beam, it's a stream, it's like basically a streamlined energy beam that's basically going directly into the heart. Probably trying to destroy one of the destroy the tissues or heat up the tissues of one of the ventricles or something like that. Um, and then like I tell people, you can actually feel it. And I know some people find that hard to believe. Like you can feel the beam, and it's like, well, the one thing I realize is, um, you have to accept that pain is a part of this life. Pain itself is a part of this life because we were born into these flesh bodies for a reason. And from what I gather, we are basically meant to experience certain things because we are being tested. Our spiritual bodies, our spirit is basically locked in these bodies, but I wouldn't consider it to be a prison per se. I would say it's more of a it's well, it's a test. Like these bodies are basically, our, let's just call it like our, consider it like our grade books. You know how, like, when you were in school, you got a, somewhere in like the main record books, there is a list of all your test scores, everything you've done, da 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 da. That information is basically, it's saved away in a file. Your body and your spiritual energy are coincidingly a record of you and your existence. What you have done, what you are doing, and what you may actually be prone to doing based on your, I guess, your genetic makeup or whatever. But anyway, so getting back to the media stream, toward media stream, um, yeah, Earth is actually about to pass through that media stream, and they say we tend to pass through that media stream during either the winter solstice. They said, well, I think they say it's mostly between October and November, or if anything, it's during the winter solstice. I gotta go back and read a little bit more on it. But anyway, um, and if you're paying attention to everything that's natural, like animals are the easiest ones you can pay attention to when it comes to um energy and what's going on around you, because animals are the ones who are more in tune with nature and energy that we can't necessarily see or hear. I don't know if people have seen the videos and of like, you know there's been like videos of cattle walking around in a circle and nobody can understand why, or birds, that's been like dying and dropping out the sky, and things of that sort. This and also mentionings of um the well, they say that the poles of the earth, they switch, they shift from time to time or whatever. But I mean, I can always be stood to be corrected. So um, don't take everything I say with a grain of salt. I always tell people, do your own research. Don't be led by anything that a person says. If someone says something that you're not 100% sure on, or you can't necessarily confirm yourself right off rip that they're right, just look it up. Look up what they're saying. Never. My mother always taught me that. Always do your own research. Don't never believe anything that somebody tells you, because you don't know if they could be misleading you or not. This is why I decided. This is one of the reasons why I decided to take this stance, because, like I told you, um, many people that was working along with this gang stalking or secret society, they they're they're basically following orders. They're following someone giving them direction and with no questions asked. We're civilians, but we're not we're civilians, but we don't necessarily have to operate like non you know consenting like robots or something like that. Yeah, we're spiritual beings. There's a reason why we're supposed to you know have our own mindsets. We're supposed to have our own, like, even though we can think collectively, or we can all agree upon something collectively, we shouldn't just be mindlessly moving in this world. But anyway, so um with that being said, I also wanted to touch on the fact that, okay, with what the handlers constantly keep trying to, I guess, remind me of is, you don't is they always telling me I don't respect other people's privacy, which is weird, because most of the time I don't even want to know what most people got going on. I mean, if you tell me, then fine. Guess I guess I kind of consider you just want to talk, so I'll talk. But most of the time, I'd be like, for my own sake, I'm probably gonna forget about it, because you know I don't necessarily care to want to remember the details. I'm an empath. More than likely, I just want to remember what you were experiencing, at least emotionally or psychologically, and then after that, help you get through whatever you're going through. And then once you feel better, boom, I gave you some tools and something that you can use to get through whatever you're going through. And then we just move on, because remember, I'm somebody that tried his absolute best not to live in the past. I always try to stay focused on the present. It's I think it's good. I think it's always a great thing to look into the future, or try to see if you can plan out your future, but your main responsibility is right here, right now. That's your main responsibility, right here, right now. Because the future is promised to no one. The future's I don't know when I'm gonna die. And the game stalkers, they don't know when they're gonna die. Everything is being based, they're basically simulating, they're using artificial intelligence to basically try to predict, out of a number of different factors or situations, if this can happen. Oh, if this can happen, if this person is forced to go through such and such situations. So they're basically steering people into certain lives, right? Now, what they're also um what they're also doing too is, they're making all of this out of like a show. For those of you who have V2K, if you have V2K, you should at least be at the point where you acknowledge that it's not just only the handlers watching you, but it's also other people who are basically logging into this cloud server, wherever the hell it is, and they're basically watching your life, but not just yours. They're also watching other people's lives too. Um, and as far as like anyone else who's being targeted who doesn't have V2K, more than likely they're watching your life too. Um, and what they're basically doing is, in this they're in this whole, like, this is all experimental. Just so you know, this is all experimental. Um, and what they're doing is basically learning about other people's lives through their life. They're watching you live your life. They're like, especially if you have a particular career or a particular job, they're watching the details of your life. So then, I guess it's kind of like a way to, well, um, obtain knowledge about something or someone, without having to actually go through the work of actually, like, let's say if you wanted to become, um, okay, never mind, sorry. If you wanted to become, like, let's say, I don't know, well, let's say an astronomer, right? The astronomer doesn't know. Oh, there's my mother. The astronomer doesn't know that they're being, remotely monitored. But what they can do is, while the astronomer is linked up to the cloud, numerous people can basically tap into his, I guess his visual cortex or whatever, and they can watch him become an astronomer or watch him live out the life of an astronomer, and then they'll get their information that way. Basically turning them into like, well, I mean, it's basically cheating when you think about it. Um, yeah. What else? Wait, let me go and check on her before she interrupt me. Okay. So, yeah. So, oh, sorry. Trying to remember where I was at. Um, right now we're basically trying to get the house straightened up because my mother wanted to have a Christmas dinner here. And every time that we're supposed to have a Christmas dinner, it's always it's it's always a test on my patience. I know that. Um, you know, that every time I think about it, sometimes I be like, I know, I can literally feel the energy of particular people in the family who is well aware of what's going on. And then I'm just sitting there thinking to myself, what's happening to me in my life. Like, and you're gonna sit there and you're gonna smile all in my face and we're gonna crack jokes and do all this stuff, but you see what's happening. The whole city is watching what's happening to us, and then I just think to myself, well, this is exactly why, people aren't necessarily born joined at the hip, so we're not necessarily connected, or at least fully connected in a sense, because to some degree, um, this is why God specifically chooses certain people to go through things and certain people not to make it through things. But anyway, this is why you still love everyone the way you expect to be, loved back. Even if they are, a Judas at the end of the day. Um, and this is both family and friends. You know, but you still love them anyway. You still treat them with respect. You still um, never try to take vengeance in your own hand, um, because you don't necessarily want to go against your own spiritual blessings in a sense. Remember, those who are basically chosen by God to be tested. This, don't think of it all as a bad thing that you're going through. This, yes, it's it's pretty horrible, right? But you know this is nothing new. This is nothing new. We're only going through this because you know our ancestors, selectively chosen throughout, our lineages, had to go through the same thing, just like the Romans did to, many Christians or Christian believers in the past, or, there's been numerous amounts of people who have been, basically slaughtered because of their faith in God or whatnot. Um, mm, yeah, I just had a thought cross my mind, and it's like it's like I'm in the house, right? But it feels like something is going up my nose. Well, I know what the something is. I don't even have to like guess what it is. I know what it is. Yeah, yeah, because I feel the energy basically traveling, and then it's going up into the nostrils. So they're basically filling my body back up with this nanotech. That's this, because it feels as if like someone took like finely ground black pepper, and they put it in a straw, and they're blowing it up my nostrils. So yeah, they're basically refilling my body up with the nanotech. But I'm about to try to get rid of some of this stuff again anyway. And as I pinch and I pull away, I can feel it literally almost kind of like going in a reverse. But don't worry, I got a number of things that I do to get rid of that, or at least to reduce the amount of it that's in me. Um. Oh, something else, right? Oh, wait. Before I move on to that, keep in mind, keep in mind. Um, we are dealing with a network of people who are basically under the control of another group of people, who are basically being controlled by another group of people, and then that group of people is being controlled by another group of people. And at the very top, that's where you would, at the very, very top, it's not about money. It's not about your, it's not about, it's not about most of the things that would ever cross your mind. I'm going to just put it to you all this way. There's a reason why someone like Colonel Michael Aquino, he passed, he was, a head military um, person for the army. He was the head of psychological warfare. He was also a head priestess in the Church of Satan, right? And that's well documented. That's public. That's public news. That's public information. You can even see pictures of him in the robes and everything. There's a reason why. This is why I study about fallen angels and what they actually taught man and what they actually came down and showed mankind about certain things. There's a reason why um, there are very, very specific things happening all throughout the world and with certain people. You gotta understand why CERN is doing so much about with technology to basically try to find the so-called dark matter. You gotta understand why all of a sudden now there's a lot more devices that are recording, that have special cameras and stuff, and they're recording these so-called figures or ghosts that are moving through the air. That you got to understand why that there are, numerous amounts of projects basically leading more into trying to see other spectrums of energy, light and sound, and why they're trying to do all these things. I mean, portals are real. I'm gonna just say it like that. Portals are real. Spirits are real, just like the energy that pumps you, that keeps you going. Spirits are just as real that basically walk and move among this earth. Everything about energy that you think you know, it goes so much deeper. And there's so much about energy that even scientists, even the most advanced scientists, still don't know. And it's going to be kept that way. And I guarantee you, the creator of all life, God, or whatever you want to call him, is going to make sure it stays that way. Because if it get to a point where humans begin to know and see too much, I mean, we're already at the point where there's going to have to be like an interstellar, intergalactic, or interdimensional cleansing to take place on this planet. And it has to. It has to. Because the negative energy is just too heavy. it's too heavy. It's not in tune with the rest of the universe. So something has to happen. Um, I was on my route, on my routes today, and there's been so many times where, like, as I'm walking away, you know, I could hear, like, it could be like whether it's the receptionist or the doorman or whatever, concierge. I could hear them having a discussion. They say, "See, he don't know nothing about he don't know nothing about secret society, stuff like that." Mind you, okay, I don't know anything about secret society. I know of some things about secret societies, but I also know one thing though. They are definitely dealing with negative energies and dark energies that I don't want no parts of, but I know at some point, as I become even more stronger and powerful and knowledgeable about my own energy and how my energy intertwines with the rest of the universe, those dark energies are going to send people to come to me. They're going to send people to come after me. Well, that's what they're doing now, anyway. So they already are claimed. They're already claimed. You know, anybody that's working and assisting with these entities, even though you can't necessarily see the entity for what it is, with your own eyes, and they're basically, they're using the technology to change their whole genetic makeup and change what they can see. The day when they finally get to see, and I believe at some point we may actually, or they may actually get to the point where they'll truly be able to see who they're working for, they're going to wish that they can actually take back everything they've done. Because fallen angels ain't nothing really to play with. Demons, evil spirits, um, those are things that they're nothing to play with. They're nothing to take lightly either. But this is why, we have God. This is why we have, holy angels or ancestral spirits who, were already aware of these type of entities and made great efforts in the past to basically do whatever they could to keep their vibrations and their armor, you know, fully um, complete and intact, so that they can fight against enemies that they can see and enemies that they can't see. Um, you know, but yeah. What else? Can't remember anything else I want to talk about. I think I might have hit on certain things already. Oh, but if anything else arises, I'll let you all know. As always. Oh, right. Um, the salt and soda bath combined with the anti nano, or I think it's called eliminate AI nanobot YouTube video. Um, if you remember, well, the recipe is always, it's real easy to remember. 1 pound of baking soda, 1 pound of sea salt. I like to add an additional half cup of hydrogen peroxide. That helps. It actually helps really great wonders with the skin, and purifies the body in other ways too. Um, Combine that with listening to the eliminate a AI nanobot video on loop. I think it's made by this YouTube channel called Doctor Seven something, and I did it for about an hour. He only says in the instructions that you listen to the video for about like 40 minutes. I just kept it on loop, and I got into, like, when I need to do like a before and after, where I the tub, after I added the baking soda, the salt and peroxide, the water was clear. The water was clear. It was clear. Um, I'm not that. I'm not that dirty, but also at the same time, if you're dirty, the water would turn kind of brownish, right? If you're actually dirty, the water would turn brown. You'll see stuff floating. You'll see like like little like little dirt layers floating in the water and whatnot. After I got out that tub last night, the water was cloudy white. Like it was like cloudy white as if I had put um soap in the water. I kid you not, I didn't add no soap. I didn't add no bubble soap. I didn't add nothing to the water. All I added was the baking soda, the sea salt, hydrogen peroxide. I got in the tub. The water was cloudy white. It was cloudy white. And I I was explaining to my girl, I was like, well, think about it like this. Aerosolized nanobots aerosolized nanobots look like a cloud, right? When you see them, when you see the planes, the fake commercial planes, you know, spraying those fake clouds, that the chemtrails in the air. What does it look like? It looked like cloudy. It looked like a cloudy white substance, right? All of those chemicals, those nanobots, they float down to the earth, and then you know what happens? After a while, it's now like floating basically in the air. So that way, it's like it's all being controlled in some sense by the like either the electromagnetic field of um, energy or the energy that's flowing through the air, whether it's by radio frequencies or natural energy flowing in the air. It's all like basically working as conductive transmitters, and they're like floating in the air. Like I wish I had something that you could actually see the energy or the weight and the shifting of things. Like so in my like it's like right now I could tell as I'm moving my hand right in this space, my hand feels like it's actually moving and going through something. Like there's all kinds of things. Like it's almost like something is basically like in the air, but like you can't see it though. Don't doubt the things that you can't see, because you can feel everything. You can feel everything, and I feel so bad for like um I feel extremely bad now for like people who've been talking about feeling things that they can't see for decades and years and whatnot. I feel bad for them now because it's like when you understand that your sensory your nervous system and your peripheral sensory system or whatever your nerves and everything, you literally can feel energy. You can feel energy. But most of the time, if you're so heavily poisoned and your nervous system has been dumbed down or drugged down, it's harder for you to actually feel the energy that you're moving through. But once you start to detox more and more, you start to feel things much. Your body becomes a lot more sensitive to the energies around you. Like right now, they got so much going on in my head. Like I could literally feel. It's like it feels like little. It feels like tiny particles of energy spiking all all over my head, but mostly primarily on the right side of the brain. They normally primarily attack the right side, but I'm gonna keep working on trying to see what type of devices may actually be out there that can show you or or give people a visual on you know I guess the energy that we can't necessarily see. The not so visible lights, the infrared lights. Anyway, I'm gonna end it here, and yeah, I got a lot of work to do. Oh, yeah, cause trying to work with my mother so then I could get the house prepared for companies. It's always it's always a test on my patience, but hey, what can you do? That's my mama. Anyway, take life one breath. I say one breath. One breath, one thought, one step, one day at a time. Peace. My hand gestures are way up.